Welcome to Take 5 with Wami Myco, a platform where we get to ask 5 pertinent questions that someone out there might be struggling with. Maybe they want to make a decision. This time we tell a story of a lady who was a professional teacher from Gayaza, and God calls her into full-time ministry. We want to hear from her as we ask her these 5 questions. So we ask that you take a moment as you enjoy this episode.
My name is Lovincer, Katana, firstborn child of my lovely parents, my father and mother, James and Florence. I am 29 years old. I made 29 on the 21st of January this year. I did a Bachelor of Science with Education from Chambogo University. Went to work and later on went back to school to UCU, Uganda Christian University, and pursued a Master of Divinity. And I am currently a Reverend Deacon at St. Francis Chapel, Makerere University. And at this chapel, I have the responsibility of overseeing children's ministry, and I also have a responsibility of overseeing the worship and arts ministry, specifically the worship in music that happens Sunday, but also throughout the week, whenever we have times of worship. Well, as I finished Senior 4 to join high school, I got the opportunity to sit in a maths class, and there was this teacher that terrified almost all of us in class because we were girls. And so I said to myself, yes, you can fail at this, but then you should have someone give you encouragement. And so from that time I purposed to study and be a teacher, to find ways to help people understand these concepts without necessarily being so hard on them or me. And so after high school I was privileged to enroll in Chambogo to study education, an institution I treasure so much for its products with regard to education. I want to thank God that I got the opportunity to teach in one of the best schools in this country, that is Gayaza High School. Now, as a firstborn to my parents, the day I knew I was going to work, I was very excited. Because, you know, as a deputy parent, as a firstborn, you have responsibilities. And so I would wake up every morning looking forward to my assignment, and I would make sure that I accomplish my tasks on time. I want to thank God that my dedication moved the head teacher, Mrs. Kisarale, aka Kisa, like we used to call her and still call her, to give me a responsibility to be a class teacher. And that to me was a breakthrough, because I got more opportunity to on a daily basis interact with the girls. And so every morning I would wake up and share, but then I also picked interest in chapel activities, because I realized that I am only one teacher that teaches them only one subject, and yet they have about 10 or 12. And so the best I would do was to pray for them to excel in these other subjects. And so I got involved in chapel activities as I taught. But then years later, I personally realized that I had more interest in chapel activities than I did in my teaching. And the truth is, I really got concerned. And so I moved to share with the chaplain, and she asked us to pray about it even in our fellowship. The first year passed on, the second year, but I noticed that my interest had dwindled. It kept going down. And so I took time to pray and ask God what is really happening with me. And I remember vividly the Lord speaking to me and telling me, yes, you have served me in the classroom. You have been an encouragement to these girls. But I want to give you a broader platform onto which you can serve me. Because you see, after these girls are done with you here, who will be an encouragement elsewhere? And so that burden for chaplaincy work in a bigger institution fell upon my heart. I want to confess that it was not easy given my status at home. There are times I would really wake up and wondered if I even gave my fellowship members the right prayer request. And so as the process began for me to even go and inquire how it is done, Because remember, as I was teaching, I was still involved in youth ministry at my church in Kalere. And the work kind of was too much. So as I inquired, I was told there is this process you need to go through. But as I went through the sub-parish level, the parish level, and eventually the diocesan level, I remember the day I did the interviews at the diocese in Nakasero, I went back to my house because as a teacher I was privileged to have had the opportunity to have a house in school. I remember going to my bed and crying because I said, now if I resign from work, I will definitely have no salary. And remember, as a firstborn, I had responsibilities. I had siblings to look after. And then I said, what will happen to me and my parents? My mother really struggled with it because raising up a child from such a slum, the Lord being gracious and she finishes school, and the Lord blessing you more, she gets a school to teach, and not just any school, but a school that rewards her efforts, a school that pays her somehow very well. I want to confess that I was not complaining like other teachers from other schools, and so I can say I was comfortable. It was really hard deciding to resign and go and study. But I remembered that afternoon as I laid on my bed and cried. I love music, and there was this famous song, I still hold it dear to my heart. There is a young girl, Carrie Job, that has a song that says, you will go before me, you will never leave me. And so that day, even as I sat in that spacious house, looked at my pay slip on the benefits that I had, the Lord vividly made it clear that you will stay in this big house, you will teach, the students will have those grades, but there is still much more that I would want you to accomplish. And so I struggled with that for the first year, the second year, and I remember towards the end of the second year of struggling with that, I wrote a resignation letter. And every time I would go to class and even to staff meetings, I would kind of be afraid to give it to the headmistress. But I want to thank God that one afternoon, I think it was a Thursday after lunch, I moved into her office and shared with her. And to my surprise, Kisa looked at me and said, this has long been overdue, and I was humbled that she could even notice something. And so the journey has really been tough, but I want to thank God that the Lord has stayed faithful. Now, you may not personally struggle the way I did, but I want to say that only God can give us that clarity about the call. People around you might say, yes, you can do better in this, but until you know God is certainly calling you to, please do not go ahead and maybe say, I will do what she did to resign. And I am sure the Lord who is faithful will reveal to you what that particular thing is that He desires you to do. Whether full-time ministry, whether part-time, the friends of mine that are serving God as tent makers, they have a profession, but they still find time to minister to God. And so my friend, my brother, my sister, it is hard to decide. The reality is it is hard. But you see, when the Lord gives you the call, He even makes you obedient. The obedience will be made easy because you know that He that has called you is faithful, and He will see you to the end of the call that He desires you to pursue. 5 years from now, I see myself with these three things. One, refining the gift of worship that the Lord has given to me in terms of song. But I also see myself bringing my research project into life, where we can have young people involved in sport for life, using sport as a tool for youth evangelism, have a sports academy that reaches out to the physical needs, but also to the spiritual needs. I also see myself 5 years from now as a PhD holder with certification in biblical languages. Look back, I am grateful to God that amidst the confusion, I was able to heed His voice and come to this decision, the decision to finally heed to His voice and be a full-time minister. I want to confess that the first year was a bit hard. There times I would go to my room and wonder if I should go back to school and teach. But when I look back to how far the Lord has brought me and the satisfaction and comfort that I have being in church, I am grateful to God that I no longer have the worries of maybe I am not in the right place. I am confident now that this is what God wants me to do for the rest of my life.
Well, you've heard from Reverend Katana Lovincer. I don't know what your questions are out there, but I know personally these answers will one day help me make the right decision when that time comes. I continue to wish you all the best and thank you so much. From us to you, Take 5 with Wami Myco. Blessings.